Welcome to my first video as the rebranded Greek audio geek. I got the shirt to show I'm Greek, and you should check out my previous video. I'll link down below as I show the ways that I prove that I'm Greek, because nobody non-Greek would have a gallon of olive oil sitting around like I do. But I digress. I'm going to cut to the chase. Today we're talking about these Tobian 12FH speakers. I've heard a lot of speakers in my life, and I have a lot of great speakers, and I'm going to hear speakers in the future that I know I'm going to love. Having said that, if you said to me, Michael, you have any amount of money to spend on any speaker in the world, and you can only have one. And guys, I've heard speakers up to $350,000. I would take these. That's saying a lot. So guys, I usually do my videos, you know, one take, non-scripted, talk about them, no problem. This is actually a second take. And why is this a second take? Because I found myself rambling in the first take, and I just kept coming back to harping on one point over and over because I didn't know how to convey it. These speakers have connected with me on such an emotional level, have put such a large smile on my face, have made me listen for 6 and 7 hours at a time and not be fatigued. And the only reason why I ended that listening session was because I was literally falling asleep on the chair. It's got nothing to do with the Greek Mystica that I was drinking at the time. It's just, I could just sit here and say that over and over and over. And so I'm going to try and articulate a little bit about the speakers themselves, their design, and then I'll give you some examples on the songs. But it's amazing to me as the system grows, as I do things like the Antipodes Audio, the K22 streamer, great streamer server, added the K41 server, took it to a next level. Cables, added stealth audio cables, took it to the next level. Tube swapping on my Aqua La Scala DAC and on my VAC integrated. Again, a difference. And then even tweaking with these AGS floor diffusers, which I did a review on. And I'm going to do a separate video because my format now is going to be more shorter videos on things. So I'm going to talk a little bit about these speakers, but I'm going to be doing separate videos on the tweaking, the positioning, things like that and what I noticed. But these speakers are always at the forefront of easily noticing these differences, easily noticing these upgrades, never missing a beat, and not being the one thing that's holding us back. I really feel as though there is nothing I could ever get in my system, no matter the price point, that would be beyond the capabilities of these speakers. So first, let's talk about the speakers themselves. Made by Tobian Sound Systems, handmade in Switzerland. The fit and finish is absolutely gorgeous. I picked out this veneer. It's beautiful. They've been around for a while. They're very, very large in Europe with the ultra high-end crowd. They are now currently imported by Suncoast Audio in Florida. I'll link to them down below. They've got all their speaker models and their prices. And I also want to get this out of the way. There are other speakers that I've heard at different price points that are excellent. There are speakers that I'm going to hear that are less expensive than these that are excellent, that are more expensive that are excellent. It doesn't mean, I'm not a big believer of absolutes. I'm not a big believer of that this speaker is better than other speakers. It's different. I mean, first of all, it's a horn. You gotta like horn speakers. I love horn speakers and what they bring. It has to match up with your system and your room acoustics. So when I previously talked about, for instance, the Fine Audio, the F704s, at $20,000, those were excellent speakers. There are going to be other speakers that I have coming in the 20, the 25, the 30,000 and plus price point that they're going to be excellent speakers. These speakers are just under $40,000 for the pair. And again, I'm going to say this because I can't say this enough. I am amazed as I upgrade in this system. You know, you hear people on these forums say it's diminishing returns. Once you spend more than $5,000 or $10,000 on X and X, whatever it is, it's only a little bit. Guys, you're full of crap. you don't know what you're talking about. I used to think the same way. And if you think that way, you haven't heard great stuff. Because I will tell you right now, these speakers are exponential beyond other speakers for the sound that I like and the type of sound and music that I like than anything else. And like I said, I've heard speakers up to $350,000, and I would take these over them because, guys, you know I believe in this. Price does not equate to performance. Price does not equate to what you're going to like better. So that's why I don't talk about price much. It's really a matter of what works for you. Design-wise, you've got a 4-inch compression driver, constant directivity. Please Google that. It's going to be better at explaining it than I can. But generally speaking, when you get into constant directivity horns, it's going to allow that, because horns can be problematic and troublesome to design, they can often have what's called beaming, and you get all sorts of weird responses and sounds at different frequencies at the lower and the higher end spectrums of the horn. This is going to allow it to perform much better across its full frequency range. It's rated at 98 or 99 dBs efficiency, which makes it great to use with low-powered tube amps. The VAC integrated I'm running it with now, I think, is 80 or 85 watts. Even when I decide to relive my crazy rave days, never ever run out of juice, so you'll be fine with that. 12-inch woofer, 8 ohm load. They're, I think, 54 kilograms each, which is what, about 120 pounds, roughly, something like that. Beautiful in everywhere. They've got the most amazing binding posts on the back. I will say this, I wasn't sure about, they're rated for like 800 watts. And I was like, that's a lot. I'm not sure I've ever seen a home speaker rated for that much. But I will tell you that I was at some crazy listening volume levels when the wife was out reliving the rave days and the bass was pounding. And I got up to look at what was happening with the cone excursion, figuring it would be working like crazy. I mean, it wasn't even moving. And I was really flabbergasted because I found myself almost wanting to walk around the speaker and look underneath. Is there a passive radiator I don't know about? It was putting out that much bass. But, and here's the big but, I'll get into the sound on what type of bass it was putting out. So there's no doubt in my mind this can handle an absurd amount of power. I can't imagine you ever doing it. This is an extremely large room. This is 22, 23 feet wide and 33 feet long, 10 or 12 foot ceiling, so very large volume. And then there's no doors in this room. They open up into 2-story foyers, and these speakers fill up the room with no problem. And they sound huge, which is a sound I'm a fan of. So yeah, that's in the overview part of this video. These speakers have brought a level of sound and performance to me that, combined with the other fantastic stuff I have in my system, because they all work together. If you put it on a Sony receiver and you push them up against the wall, obviously you're not going to get this kind of sound. This is a level of performance that I have just been absolutely blown away by. And frankly, I did not realize I could get that kind of sound in this room. So now let's talk about some specifics. I'm going to link below to my Qobuz playlist. I'm still in the middle of having that rebranded over to the Greek Audio Geek, so it's going to say Michael's HiFi Adventures on it. But for those of you who've followed my other videos or you see what I talk about on my Facebook page, you know there are several songs on that playlist that I listen to over and over that are my standards. First of all, these speakers need, as my experience with all horn speakers, because they're so efficient, 350 hours before you do any serious listening. There was a noticeable sound difference between 125 hours and 350 hours of burn. And in fact, the difference between 0 and 125 was not as great as between 125 and 350. So you get these speakers, just play them and don't even do any listening to them. Here's what I've noticed with this. I'm going to talk about my normal songs, but generally speaking, there's going to be a theme. I don't want to spend too much time going over all the songs because it's going to have this theme. Incredible amount of insight. Yes, I'm going to say a phrase that I hate it when people say, I heard stuff that I never heard about in songs before. Yeah, not only did I hear stuff that I haven't heard in the songs before, it came in a normal, natural, insightful way. It wasn't like somebody was just turning up the treble. I'm very sensitive to high frequencies. These did not have any splashiness at all. There was not any hardness to them. There was an amount of texture in the bass, in the mid bass that I have not experienced before. So when I listen to Frank Sinatra, you know, you could always hear on the drums where they kick in and they start with that. I'm not sure what it's called, but it's not a drumstick, but it's the almost like the whisk with the, and they hit the drum with it. I always knew that's what they were doing, but now with these speakers, I could actually hear them dragging it across the drum. It had a delicacy to it that I had not heard before. Yet when the instruments kick in, the orchestra behind Frank Sinatra, the dynamics just blow you out of your seat. It's incredible. It just made me smile from ear to ear because I've heard that song on dozens of different versions of my system, and I've never been blown out of a seat the way I have, to the degree that I just didn't think this was possible. When I listen to Holly Cole and her songs, Every Day Will Be Like a Holiday, and the sax kicks in, or the piano kicks in, or the stand-up bass. I mean, I can hear him more strumming on the strings and him sliding his hand up and down. It's a level of texture, organicness, and connection to the music that I have not experienced before, that again, I did not realize was possible. So this is approaching a whole new level for me. And again, I want to say it's got a lot to do with, yeah, I've got the AGS room diffusers. Yeah, I've got the stealth cables. I've got a great Antipodes audio server along with the streamer. So I've got the system behind it to allow these speakers to do what they're great at. But these speakers have got such an attitude about them that I found I was listening to songs longer than I had before and listening to music that I typically didn't like before because it had such an emotional connection to the artists for me that I hadn't previously had, that it just allowed me to sit there. Here's a perfect example. There have been 3 or 4 occasions now where I have sat in the listening seat and I have listened for over 6 hours straight to these speakers. And the only reason why I stopped, I had no fatigue, I wanted more, I never stopped grinning, and the only reason why I stopped was because I was literally passing out in the chair. I was so tired, and that has got nothing to do with the Greek Mystica that I was drinking in excess amounts while listening to music. I'm just saying that I've never experienced speakers that have put that much of a smile on my face, that have made me want to just sit there for that long. Again, guys, here's the caveat. I am not saying these are the best speakers in the world. I'm not saying these are the best speakers in the world for you, because there are going to be other speakers at other price points that are exceptional performers that I love, that you're going to love. To me, the only time here's what I would say. The only time I would say something is bad is if it blows up. Short of that, it's personal preference, it's system integration, it's system synergy, it's room integration. Having said that, I'm going to say it again, I think now for the 3rd time. If you gave me an unlimited budget to spend on speakers at any price point, based on what I've heard at shows, in showrooms, at other people's homes, and in this house to now, and I could only have one, because in my dream system, frankly, I would have probably 2 or 3 different designs of speakers. I'd have horn speakers, and then there are 2 others I have in mind that I think are going to be exceptional, that I'm looking forward to. That in my dream imaginary room, I would have one of each of those, okay? But if I could only have one speaker in the world at any price point, and it had to do everything for me, it would be these Tobians. It would be these Tobian 12FHs. I think they're that good. And if you like a horn speaker and what a horn speaker can do when it is designed to its best possibility, because there's a lot of horn speakers out there that get things wrong, I think you'll be amazed. I also think these speakers are so good at sounding this is going to sound really awkward, non-horny, that I think it's going to take a lot of people that have not been traditional horn speaker likers, and they're going to fall in love with these speakers. If you're looking for dynamics, if you're looking for attitude, if you're looking for an emotional connection, if you're looking for tone and texture, and you're looking for a speaker that can easily, on the flick of a switch, just pound out, relive your rave days or your rock and roll or whatever you want, and never sound hard. That's what I really also liked about these speakers. Other speakers, as you start to turn them up, you get compression in the drivers, and they start to sound hard, they start to sound a little wonky, the tone shifts as you turn them up. There was none of that with these. You could just turn it up and up and up, and I never reached the limit of where these speakers lost their composure, started to alter the tone, or started to bring out any negatives. I gave up, and guys, I can take a lot. I gave up before these speakers gave up. So I can't stress enough. I'm going to link down below to the Suncoast Audio page. You can check them out. They've got all their different models. They've got some that are more expensive. They've got some that are less expensive. I'll reiterate about the bass again. Not only is the tone and texture and the rhythm fantastic. That's a great example right there. You know, I've been tube rolling in my Aqua Scala DAC and my VAC integrated. And I can actually hear the difference now between a 1963 Mazda tube in the Aqua and a 1964 Siemens tube, where what the differences are in air, but also in the rhythm. I could pick up that the Siemens tube was a little bit slower, a little bit lethargic in the bass. I've used those same tubes on other speakers before, and I have not picked up those differences. So these speakers will easily allow you to hear all this stuff without sounding analytical. These are not hi-fi analytical speakers. These are music-first speakers that if you want an emotional connection with the music and you want to sit there and you want to smile from ear to ear and you want to go through your entire music catalog just listening to music and loving every second of it, these are the speakers for you. And to do that with the amount of insight that they have, guys, I'm telling you, at $40,000, I know that's not chump change. But when I look at the other more expensive speakers that I've put these up against and how these come out on top without it even being close, I think that's pretty amazing. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. I'm the Greek Audio Geek, and I approve of this message. Opa!